Tell me a fact that will keep me up at night. There's nothing fundamentally stopping something in your brain from breaking forever while you sleep tonight. You could be hungry forever, lose your eyesight, become consumed with uncontrollable rage, whatever. All it takes is a tiny hemorrhage in the right spot responsible for regulating some signals, and they can happen to literally anyone. In the 70s-80s, the first case of many Southeast Asian refugees in the US who died screaming in their sleep was recorded. This was common for Lao Hmong men who lived through the Cambodian genocide and CIA recruitment for the Lao Civil War. It's theorized that this was an extreme form of PTSD. One story, the man had stayed up for days fearing he would be attacked if he slept. He drank coffee and lied to his parents about sleeping. He did everything he could to keep from sleeping. When he finally fell asleep, his parents thought this crisis was over. Then they heard screams in the middle of the night. By the time they got to him, he was dead. He died in the middle of a nightmare. Edit. I said first recorded, but I'm dumb and this was not the first record of it. And Lao Civil War, not Nam. You can actually wake up during surgery, but the worst part is that you are still paralyzed. So you can feel everything what they do to you, but you can't signal to them that you are conscious. This is one of my worst fears. Go outside at night, put a flowerlight against your temple facing towards what you are looking at, like a headlamp but parallel to your eyes, and look at the grass. All those little sparkles that look sorta like you? Spiders. They're all spiders. At that moment you will truly realize, 1. Spiders are everywhere and the vast majority are harmless. Or, 2. You now have arachnophobia if you didn't already. I get it is a meme to hate spiders, but they are little marvels of evolution. Plus they eat mosquitoes. Fuck mosquitoes. The fact that we haven't a single fucking clue of what happens after death. Nothing is guaranteed based on your faith, or your preference. Even if someone knew exactly what happened after death, with concrete evidence, no one would believe them, this making it useless to even talk about. So, not only is there a metaphorical fog when it comes to post-death, we wouldn't believe what anyone says about it, even if it were true. Sorry, guys and gals. Just had to, get it on paper. Edit. When I say a single fucking clue, I mean what happens to your, I guess, consciousness? It would make sense if it didn't matter since you don't technically exist after death, as your neurons just stop firing, hence making your mind nothing. But, the question still pulls at my brain every now and again. Years ago I saw an episode of Monsters Inside Me where this guy was doing something outside and a fly flew into his eye. It only made contact for about a microsecond, but it was enough time for it to lay eggs. After they hatched they started eating his eye from the inside and he was starting to go blind until a doctor figured out what was wrong. Just imagine that, getting your eye eaten from the inside and losing your sight all because a fly very briefly made contact with you. Ever since I learned about this I get really paranoid when there is a fly around my face because this could possibly happen to me. Sometime in the 1940s a distress signal from an Indonesian ship called the Iron Maiden was received in Morse code. The SOS was as followed. We float. All officers including the captain, dead in chart room and on the bridge. Probably whole of crew dead. After that, there were a few confusing dots and dashes received that didn't mean anything. Before 2 last words were received, I die. A ship called the Silver Star responded to the SOS, and the rescue team they sent aboard found the bodies of the crew sprawled on their backs with their eyes open and mouths agape, almost like they died screaming and extremely frightened. Even the radio operator that sent the distress signal was found with the same terrified expression in the radio room. The weird part is that none of the corpses had any visible injuries, and the vessel was completely undamaged. Before it could be towed though for investigation, a fire broke out on it and it sank. This story always interested me and I'd love to figure out what actually happened on that vessel. I lived in the rainforest in Australia, full of deadly snakes, spiders, sharks, Great Barrier Reef, crocs, stingrays, box jellyfish, giant killer birds, cassowaries. Only thing I ever saw was some big, as my hand, spiders that just hung out and didn't bother us. I always thought I could never go to Oz cause it was so dangerous, but turned out it wasn't a problem. Crocs weren't protected then though, so a lot of people shot them. There's literally zero proof, or for that matter really anything close to proof that I'm aware of, that there's anything else after we die. For all we know about it, we might just die and fade out of existence entirely. No black nothingness stuck with just your thoughts. No reuniting with loved ones. Not even a consciousness to be able to process that you don't actually exist anymore. It's entirely plausible that whenever the lights shut off, that's just it and we're gone. Regardless of your faith or personal beliefs and how comforting it is to believe in an afterlife, nobody can say with certainty there is one. I'm a hopeful agnostic and I like to believe something happens after this and we go to some higher existence or something. But it scares the shit out of me to think about this. I have shadow people come into my room. I think they are my buddies who didn't make it back with me. Also, when I lay on my right side I can hear a radio type of station. Sometimes it is just people talking but I can't make out what they are saying. Other times it is that death metal type of music, others heavy metal, and occasional music in a language I can't understand. I am a vet who served in combat and am service connect disabled. I told my doctor about everything I just mentioned here as I was worried that something was wrong with me. She couldn't speak in regards to the shadow people, but as for what I hear when my right ear is pressed against my pillow, she told me it was nothing for me to worry about, that it happens to everyone every once in a while. It doesn't happen every night anymore, but the majority of the nights, well, yay. I am sure that what I wrote will be considered lame, and if it does not meet the criteria for the post, then either let me know and Z will delete it, or the mods can if they so wish. I do apologize if this doesn't meet the criteria. However, some of the stuff that I have witnessed would either be considered fiction, that I am insane, or that I am FOSS, full of shit syndrome. And yes, by all means please feel free to use my abbreviation. I used to work for a tax debt negotiation firm. We had to call the IRS constantly and negotiate installment agreements, offers in compromise, and more on behalf of our clients, most of whom were over $50,000 100,000 in debt to the IRS. We had to use fake names with the IRS so they wouldn't revenge audit us. But that's not the scariest part. One time we requested transcripts for a client. The person working that desk at the IRS that day must have been new. Hesh sent the IRS's file, not the file they let others see. It was unbelievable. Our firm actually used that file, de-identified, of course, for training purposes from there on out. The IRS has a record of everything you've ever done your entire life, and I mean everything. Even stuff that you didn't think was attached to your social security number. Everywhere you've lived or stayed. Everything you've ever bought. Sometimes, even cash payments. Every porn site. Every person you've done business with. Every fucking thing. But even that's not the scariest part. The scariest part is that even though we worked under a lawyer who would occasionally take cases to court, the IRS can receive a verdict against them and just say, "Nah, we're not doing that," and that's it. End of negotiation. They are truly 100% above the law, and nobody will do anything about it because of the aforementioned revenge audit thing. Found a few. One bed mattresses always gain weight over time, mainly because of the dead metes insects, skin and dirt that is too small to see with the naked eye. Two crevasses, basically deep open cracks in glaciers, aren't actually lethal when you fall into one. This is because of their usual V shape, but that means that if you fall in, you'll be stuck. So either your body heat will melt the ice enough that you'll fall so deep you won't have space for your lungs to breathe, you'll starve, or you'll freeze. 3. There are tiny mites and bacteria on your eyes and eyelashes at all times, pooping, mating, eating and dying at this moment.